Welcome back to my YouTube channel. This video is going to talk about creating a bleed for some of this artwork I did for some Christmas t-shirts. I posted about this on a Facebook group, and I was going to talk about posting a video up kind of talking about how I did it. This is not going to be a real good a how-to video to show you how to do it, but I'll have to do like a more simpler image to kind of show you that. But this one, I just wanted to kind of run through it real quick and kind of an idea of how I get it done. So I'm going to open it up and kind of run through some steps. I'll mention some things, and you may know what I'm talking about, or you may not. If you want, you can ask some questions in the comments, and I'll try to answer them the best I can. So I'm going to go ahead and open this file. This one was most likely to get their tinsel in a tangle. So I've got all these are all PNGs, high-res PNGs. They're 300 DPI, I think, and they're pretty large size, so they're going to print out pretty clear. So now that I've got the image open, I'm going to select it by clicking on it, and once I do that, I can go to the image trace option and select image trace, and I'll just hit OK. The default settings I have on it are pretty standard. I've done this a couple of times, so I know I need to move the slider up to 225, I think is what it is, and it gets rid of all the other shades and just makes it more of a solid color, so everything's all black. Once I get that, I'll expand it. That separates it into a vector image now. So now I have white area and black area, so I'm going to select the white area and delete it. So now all you see here is just the black area that was left over. Once I get that done, I will create a copy of it and put it on another layer, because now I could select this and flip the fill and stroke, and then the stroke would be my cut lines. I could actually use that as my cut lines, but I'm going to kind of go through this. So I'll paste the original image back. So I've got my traced image under it. I need to make a copy of my traced image because I'm going to use that for my bleed and also for my cut lines. So I'm going to paste it on top because that's going to be my cut lines, and I'll hide that for now. So now I'm going to work on creating a bleed. So this is the fill and the stroke over here. I'm going to flip the fill so the color's on the stroke now, and I'm going to increase the stroke over here, maybe 3 point to 4 point. I'm not really sure. So I'm going to line these images up, and then I'll zoom in and kind of check to see where the bleed's at. So that bleed means the color is bleeding out past the image. So now if I create a cut line just along the image, it'll be between the black bleed and then on the image. You can kind of see a faint line in there now. That's a line that's already on the image. That's just from the graphic. I don't know. That's probably just the edge of the lettering. So now I can go to this other layer where I pasted the original trace, and then I'm going to select the stroke on it and create a spot color. So I went over to my swatch, clicked on my spot color swatch. I'm going to make sure the process says spot color, and then I'm going to name it cut contour, the way you're supposed to do it with C-U-T and then capital O-U-N-T-O-U-R. Well, I'm sorry, capital C-O-N-T-U-R. I can't spell. I like the color to be like a bright magenta. It could be any bright blue or bright green. It doesn't matter. But I like magenta because it kind of stands out. It's not really a common color that I use with some of the other things. So it set it to the fill. So I'm going to go ahead and flip it. So now that's on the stroke. And then on my stroke, I like to make it the smallest size it is. I think it's a 0.25 point. So it makes it real tiny, real thin. That way I can see a real good difference between the image and where my cut line is going to be. So these are my cut lines. I've created the cut line, so now I need to line those up. So I'm going to zoom in and try to line them up the best I can. Sometimes you can select the image and then horizontally align it and vertically align it, but sometimes there will be some other elements that you can't really see because this image, the colored part of the image is a PNG. It's got a larger border around it, so the dimensions aren't the same as the vector image, because the vector only goes out to the edges of the vector lines where the other image goes all the way out to the edges of the actual image. But anyway, I'm zooming in just to make sure that my cut lines are lining up. It looks like it's going to cut right in the black area, so there won't be any white area exposed. That black area should be big enough to where if there is a slight variance that you won't see any. The settings on my machine are actually pretty good. I've kind of messed with it when I first got it. It takes you through the settings to try to line up the cut lines, and I did that. And I've done a few jobs, they worked out okay, so then I had another one that seemed like it was kind of off, so I realigned it, and now it seems even better. Like it hasn't really gotten out of line, so I'll check it every now and then. But as you can see here, I'm turning the layer with the bleed on it on and off, just checking to make sure the stroke matches up pretty good, to bleed enough out far enough so when I do my cut line, there won't be any white area. So now what I want to do is get my artboard the same size of the image. That way when I place it into VersaWorks, it will just only take into account the image size, not the artboard. I learned that early on, that when you place the image in there, VersaWorks thinks the whole artboard, which is the white space that you see here, is the actual image, and it considers that in the size of it. So I always go to the artboard and just fit it to the shape of the image. So now I'm just going to name my layers, and this just helps you keep track of what you got going on. Most people probably name them immediately as soon as they open up their projects, just to, like I said, keep track of stuff. But I'm a little bit lazy on that side, and I'll just name them as I can. Sometimes I don't even name them, but I do try to put the cut lines, and then when I do perf cut lines, I try to keep them all in a different layer. That way they're separated. The only issues I've ever had transferring them into VersaWorks and them not showing up is because maybe I've misspelled them, or didn't create a spot color or something. It's pretty straightforward. I mean, as long as you get these settings right for the spot color, you spell it correctly, and you do the proper formatting, it should pick it up right away. So, and I'll just save it as a PDF here, and then once I get it saved, I'll open it up in VersaWorks and then send it to print. So let's move on to VersaWorks and check that out. So now I've got VersaWorks open. I'm going to pull it in here and get it ready to print. Add it to QA. Need to locate my file. Go to, let's see, where did I put it? It's in my, there we go. Sorry about that, bear with me till I find it. Got it placed in a little folder by itself here, BN-20 prints. Alright, the tinsel, get it open. Alright, so now I got it open. Let it load in there. It shows here that I got my cut line. The special items area always kind of indicates what you have set in your file, so that's the first thing to check to make sure you got your cut lines in there. I'm going to go ahead and put the scale to 100%. I like to center it in the media, and then I just want one copy. So the next areas, I'm just going to click through here, check my settings to make sure everything's set up the way it should be. Let's see. I think everything's good to go. I'm going to go back. Make sure my media is set to, I just use generic. I'm using the color print easy with Caesar. So far it's worked out pretty good. I like to print first and then cut. Check my cut line. Looks like it's got the dance where they're supposed to be. Everything's good. So now I'm going to go ahead and print it. So I printed it here. You can kind of see, I'm going to go ahead and weed it out. I'm a real fast weeder, so don't try this at home if you don't know what you're doing. But once I get it weeded out, it's ready to go. So here we go. I've weeded it out. You can kind of see there are no white areas exposed around the letters. I'll kind of zoom in so you can take a look at it. Came out pretty clean. And now I just have to put the transfer paper on top of it, and then make sure it peels off the bottom paper good, and get it to the customer so they can get it on their shirts. Thanks for watching.